Right now, your Claude plan gives you the smartest model in the world at a flat rate. Tomorrow morning, that deal is over. Fable 5 is going pay per token, and on a normal plan, pay per token is just a polite way of saying gone. But here's the move almost nobody is going to make today. You can't keep the model, you can keep the way it thinks. Because a way of thinking can be written down, pulled out, and run on a cheaper model that isn't going anywhere. And that right there is the whole video. Now look at the lists going around today. Build one last website. Ship a couple of demo apps. Generate a month of content in advance. Every single one of those burns your final frontier hours on work that never needed them. Because one question sorts everything you could possibly do today. Could a cheaper model redo this tomorrow? If the answer is yes, skip it. Opus, the model that stays in your plan, will happily rebuild any demo app next week for nothing. Run your own to-do list through it right now. A landing page, a cheaper model builds that next Tuesday. Skip, a batch of social posts, same answer. Skip, but a standard that encodes how your business makes decisions. No cheaper model can author that. That one you keep. Spending Fable's final flat rate hours on mid-tier work is hiring a surgeon to take your blood pressure. Sure, it gets done, nothing wrong with the result. It's also a spectacular waste of the one thing that disappears tomorrow. What a cheaper model can't redo tomorrow, that's the good stuff. A standard written down, a roadmap already reasoned through, a vault of research already distilled, a skill that fires on its own, those keep their full value long after the model behind them is gone. 5 moves do the extraction, and I'm handing you every prompt ready to paste. If you remember one thing from this video, remember the order. Move 5 goes in first because it runs itself. First, why today specifically? Straight off the rate card, Fable runs about $10 per million tokens in, 50 out. Opus 4.8, the model that stays in your plan, is half of that. Sonnet is cheaper still on intro pricing through the end of August. I run my per token models through one ApexAPI key, so believe me, once a meter starts, you feel every call. And inside your plan, the meter is unkind to Fable. It burns through your weekly limit roughly twice as fast as Opus, and only half of that limit even applies to it. So you don't get 10 swings today. You get 2, maybe 3. Aim them at the jobs with the most value locked inside. And skip the argument about whether the model is worth keeping. It's beside the point. Opus 4.8 is genuinely great. It is not going anywhere. And starting tomorrow, it is what you actually run. Fable's only job today is to leave it instructions. So sort today's work into 2 piles. Anything you'll still be using in a month, a system prompt, a skill, a big irreversible decision, that's an asset. Pay Fable wants to make it. Anything you throw away by Friday is throughput. Run it on the cheap model and don't look back. Move 1. Plant Fable's judgments straight into your workspace. Because the most valuable thing a frontier model can leave behind is not an answer, it's a standard. Your Claude file, your skills, your memory files, that's the layer every future model reads before it touches a line of your work. And today, Fable writes that layer at a level Opus can follow perfectly, but could never have authored on its own. That gap is exactly what you're banking. So run this in every project you care about. Read this entire project and how I work in it. Then rewrite my Claude file as the operating manual a less capable model would need to work here at my level. Name the conventions I follow. Name the mistakes a weaker model will make in this codebase, each one with the rule that prevents it. Then the line that carries the whole thing. Write the quality bar for each deliverable as checkable criteria, not adjectives. A cheaper model cannot invent a quality bar, but hand it a written one, and it applies that bar perfectly every single time. And close that same prompt by asking for the three skills that would save you the most hours written out in full. You're not asking for advice about skills, you're asking it to build them right now while the meter still reads free. Move 2. The consultant audit. Fable's real edge shows up on hard, messy problems, the kind with no clean answer waiting at the back of the book. On the hardest tier of the coding benchmarks, it roughly doubles the next model, and the gap only widens as the problems get uglier. So give it the ugliest problem you actually own, your business. Open a session with your projects, your numbers, whatever context you can feed it, and say, act as the consultant I can't afford. Audit everything: offers, pricing, workflows, where my hours actually go. Then hand me a roadmap I can execute with a weaker model, ranked highest return first. The deliverable rule is the whole point. For every item, Fable writes down the why, the exact steps, what done actually looks like, and what a weaker model needs to be told to execute it. Opus doesn't need to be brilliant next week, it just needs to follow a brilliant document. And make it name the three things you should stop doing with the reasoning spelled out in full. A cheaper model will happily keep you busy. It takes frontier judgment to tell you with receipts which part of your work is quietly worthless. Quick aside, because someone will ask. Every per token call in this video runs through one Apex API key, 129 plus models, one dashboard, one bill. Grab a key at ApexAPI.dev, link below. That's the only plug. Back to the moves. Move 3. Build a second brain. If judgment is Fable's edge, deep research is where that edge runs deepest. Long multi-step synthesis is its single widest lead over every other model out there. So spend a real slice of today on sheer volume. Run deep research on your niche, your competitors, the problems your customers keep hitting, the methods you've been meaning to study for a year. Then mine every run into an Obsidian Vault, the free notes app where each note links to the notes around it, one insight per note. And whatever you do, don't accept a 40-page report. A report gets read once and buried. 100 small linked notes get retrieved and reused for years. So atomize everything. That vault quietly becomes the context every future session reads before it answers you. Here's why this works, and it's my favorite story in all of AI. Back in the Llama days, the most copied training set around was built by pulling about 52,000 answers out of a frontier model for under $500 and training a tiny open model on them. That frontier model was shut down in January 2024. The teacher is dead. Everything it taught still runs. That is today's entire strategy: extraction, not conversation. Move 4. Fire off the goals. The first three moves bank what Fable knows. This one spends the thing you actually lose tomorrow: unattended hours. Its signature trick is holding a single job for hours without once losing the plot, and that endurance is exactly what stops being free. Two commands do this inside Claude Code. /goal sets a finish line instead of a prompt. You describe what done looks like. The model works turn after turn, and a second, smaller model checks the condition after every turn. It only stops when the goal is genuinely met. Dynamic workflows are the scale layer on top. Fable writes an orchestration script for your task, and that script fans out dozens of subagents in parallel, cross-checking each other's findings while your own session stays completely free. The goal holds the finish line, the workflow does the fan out. A real one reads like this. Every module in this repo has a test file. The full suite passes with the green run pasted here in the chat. A migration node documents every change, or stop after 25 turns and paste me the failures. Two rules keep this safe instead of terrifying. First, demand pasted proof in the finish line. The judge only reads the conversation. It can't run your tests or open your files. So ask for the green run pasted, never promised. Second, cap every run, turns or wall clock written right in. One uncapped loop quietly build somebody 6 grand by morning, and you don't have to invent these. There are whole libraries of ready-made loops and workflows out there, each paired with a prompt and the exact tool it plugs into. The model writes the plan, then executes it. Steal the ones that fit your backlog and point them at your own repo tonight. Just don't fire off 10 loops in a panic. Pick the 2 or 3 goals with the most value locked inside and let Fable grind those all the way to done while you're asleep. Move 5. And if you only have 1 hour left today, do this one first. Every time Fable cracks a genuinely hard problem, its approach evaporates the second the session ends. You keep the answer, you lose the thinking. This move installs a recorder, so you never lose it again. Create one skill file that captures how a problem was actually solved, not just the fix. Then wire it into your Claude file with a single line of law. After every non-trivial solve, run the extract approach skill before moving on. From now on, a solution without its learnings node is unfinished work. Then go work Fable hard on your real backlog, the gnarly bug, the architecture call you keep circling, and every single solve drops a note behind it as it goes. And these notes are not summaries. A good one reads like a field report. Here was the trap. Here's why the obvious fix was wrong. Here's the approach that actually held, and here's the check that proves it. That's reasoning a weaker model could never generate, sitting in plain text where any model can simply read it. Those notes are the distillate, Fable's reasoning sitting in your own repo, readable by every model that comes after it. That's why this move compounds and why it goes in first. It turns the rest of your Fable time into permanent assets automatically in the background. Step back and look at what those 5 moves leave behind. A standard in your workspace, a ranked roadmap, an atomized vault, a shelf of unattended loops, a recorder that documents every solve, 5 artifacts, and not one of them cares which model you're running next month. Now, let me make the transplant completely literal because this is the sharpest version of the whole idea. 10 minutes today, and you walk away owning the reasoning instead of renting the model. Start from the uncomfortable truth. The model was never the asset. Attaching your workflow to one specific model is building on rented land. It gets deprecated, repriced, or replaced every single time. What survives is the thinking system you can describe in plain words. And Fable's edge really is describable, reading what a request is actually asking for, breaking a hard problem into pieces you can check one by one, verifying its own work instead of trusting whatever sounds right, refusing to guess when it doesn't know. All of that is just language, which means all of it is portable. Step 1, extract the manual and demand procedures, not vibes. Check your work, that's a vibe. For any percentage, find both endpoints yourself and divide, because that's where flipped signs hide. That is a procedure a model can actually run. So the prompt is exact. You are the most capable model on my account, and access to you narrows tomorrow. Write the operating manual your replacement will run on. Opus 4.8, strong, but a step below you. Write it as a senior operator handing their craft to a sharp junior: how to read intent, how to verify by rederiving, how to attack your own conclusion before you hand it over. Step 2, transplant it. Open a project, paste that manual into the project instructions, and set the model to Opus. Every conversation in that project now inherits Fable's way of working before it reads a single word of your actual task. Step 3 is the one everybody skips, and it's the one that proves the whole thing. Give both versions the same trap. A report says revenue grew from 4 million to 4.2 million and calls it a 20% gain. Plain Opus often waves that through because the sentence reads smoothly. Opus running Fable's manual stops, rederives the number, catches that it's 5%, not 20, and refuses to ship. If it catches the error the transplant took, you just watched reasoning move from one model into another with your own eyes. And if it doesn't catch it, your manual was too vague on verification. That's not a failure, that's information. Go back and make the verification section procedural, exact steps, not encouragement. You're debugging a document, and you can do that all day while the model is still free. The money makes the whole thing obvious. The full extraction today inside your plan costs you nothing. The same run after the switch is a few dollars of credits every single time. That's the tell for every decision from here. Pay the frontier model once to mint an asset. Then let the cheap model spend it 1,000 times over. One bonus while you're still in there. For each thing you do every week, tell Fable: interview me about this workflow, one question at a time, until you understand it cold. Then write it up as a complete skill my future assistants will follow. Answer honestly, and you walk out with your own judgment frozen into a file that runs on any model for free forever. Because after tomorrow, this exact situation just repeats. A frontier model appears, it gets repriced, it gets pulled. One was even yanked with no notice, brought back after the backlash, then retired anyway 6 months later. Outputs you didn't save while you had access cannot be reconstructed once it's gone. Every teacher leaves. What you extracted is what you keep. So keep this playbook. The test: can a cheaper model redo it tomorrow? If yes, skip it. Then 1. Rewrite your Claude file and skills as checkable standards. 2. The consultant audit and its roadmap. 3. Deep research mined into an atomized vault. 4. Goals and workflows on your heaviest backlog with pasted proof and hard caps. 5. The recorder skill wired in to fire on its own. If you're short on time, 5 first, then 4, they run alone, then 1, 2, 3. The panic is optional, the manual is forever, and the next time a frontier window swings open, you'll be harvesting it, not burning it. See you in the next one.